Corsos. Now, before 1993, there was no Corsos that had papers. So any enthusiast that jumps up and said that his dog had papers is a liar. I'm going to say that again. No Cane Corso had papers, pedigrees, before 1993. Before 1993. Now, I understand some of us, we did research. We talking about Pablo Berber, the aspect of the recovery phases, or the reconstruction, I call it. But the recovery stages in the 70s, those dogs were cold pedigree dogs. There was no lineage. These enthusiasts were just scouring the countryside selecting dogs they felt that was fit the bill to be bred so they can start a standard of the dogs. There's also some narrative to say that the Corso almost went extinct, which is not the truth of the matter. The Corso, one, was called different names throughout Italy. That's number one. Number two, the people of Italy are very distrustful of each other. So if you come from a certain town, you can't travel to another town next door because you might not get along with those guys, and those guys will hurt you. So if you didn't have family that lived in a different, in that township, you wasn't allowed to go in. So them reconstructing or trying to recover, that's what they call it, recovery. The process would have went real slow because Italians are distrustful of one another if you're not from their family or you don't live in their town. Truth of the matter. There was a population of Corsos in Sicily, and there was a population of Corsos in Sardinia. Pablo Berber, he begged to differ on his Facebook page because I said that the Dugo Sardo is a Corso, and he was like, no, that the Sardo was bred with hounds, 1500s, I think he said, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm trying to find literature on that to indicate when did that happen. But again, on the mainland of Italy, the hound was bred into the Corso. The commoners, they were poor people. So, dogs are going to do what dogs do. So it was about functionality. So on the aspect of the dogs doing the tasks they were supposed to do, farmer really didn't care what was bred into the dogs. So the dogs were periodically bred with the Albaruzzi or the Maramers, and they were periodically bred with the hounds, which is Savoy hounds. And this is how the Corso was bred. Traditionally. Okay. So moving forward, Pablo Berber in the 80s, he get into it with the Mavelli brothers. The Mavelli brothers decided to make Barcia the template. Barcia had an undershot. His coat was kind of too short, as Pablo Berber said, and he didn't want the dog to be used. Again, in Barcia's lineage, it's kind of sketchy because the two wedge head dogs, there's a lot of wedge head dogs in his development, and it doesn't add up with Duno and the looks of Barcia and Barcia's brother Boulan and others. But that's another story. But they're not the only Corsos, and not all Corsos come from those dogs. I'm going to say that again. Not all Corsos are descended from those dogs. There were a lot of Corsos. And that's the matter of the truth that's not being spoken upon. There were Corsos in Sicily, like I said, and also in Sardinia, but also on the mainland of Italy. And again, it depends on what township you was from. This is how the Corso was bred. So there's a lot of speculations and stories. But the Corso was called many names. And they try to make these different names, different breeds. And nah, it's a Corso. The Sicilian Bisharro, you have Giovanni Tumli, who's a recovery breeder, who studied the dogs intensely, I'm going to say. Not going to say he hasn't studied. Him and Flavio Bruno, not going to say they haven't. Flavio is a veterinarian by profession, so he's a doctor. But then he should also understand about dog breeds and its traits, and critiquing dog breeds and their traits. And what I'm saying by that is that, because we definitely know how the Corso is bred, certain colors are going to be manifested. What else? Temperament-wise, and the looks of the dogs. And so, like I said, in the Malosula dog, there's not going to be no bulldog traits at all with the pug infusion in it. It's not going to be that. It's not going to be that. It's not going to be that. So these modern day Neapolitan Masters have that. They're not the correct dogs. What happened with the Corso fell in the same plight as the Neo did. The Neos went into the wrong direction. The Corso started going to the wrong direction. There was a supply and demand of the dogs. And the Italians decided to breed more bulldogs into the dogs to make them, to appear to look better, they felt. And which they didn't know, which was devastating to the breed. They brung in the bull breeds brung in the epilepsy. And now the Corso, the hypercorsos, are plagued with epilepsy. They're plagued with it. You have to be careful, because your dog will have these seizures, or potentially have these seizures. These breeders didn't stop breeding these dogs knowingly that these dogs carry this, and they continue to do so, and nothing is being done. You having all this tests and these databases, and you know what bloodlines these dogs are coming from, because a lot of the recovery breeders didn't do the right thing by the dogs. They bred more of the bullier breeds into the dogs, indigenous to Italy, ruin the dogs. Because if you were trying to recover something, the smart thing would have been was to breed the dogs traditionally. So the traditional blend of the dogs, Maremma, or the Savoy Hounds, or the Bronto, which is a pointer dog. This is where the Corso gets its webbed feet from. What also could have happened was you could have used, if you was going to use anything unindigenous to Italy, the Malosula dogs. You got Armenia, Romania, right by Italy, and Central Asians, they Pastario dogs, they lived there. You could have bred that and brought the traditional traits of the Corso back, because those dogs are related to the Malosula dog. When the Malosula spread it out, and when Rome set out to conquer the known world, they brought their war dogs into Europe and stuff like that. They went through these places. So those are the remains of the Penasis of those dogs. You breed that back into the dogs. They didn't do so. Not enough history was known. People in Italy were trying to figure it out. But like I said, with Tumli understood this and decided still that, to go along with the narrative that the Barcia-looking dogs are the traditional dogs. He even went on further to say that before his earlier sayings that, the Sicilian Bisharro actually was a Corso. And then that flipped and changed. Because I guess, Mike Sotilli Sr. went to Sicily, recovered the dogs, started breeding the dogs, and the dogs were cookie cutting. So now American dogs were coming out a little bit better and bigger than the Italian counterparts. Hold on.